This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Friday, August 16th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Trump holds a news conference focused on the economy.
Kamala is reportedly proposing communist price controls.
I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
President Biden and Vice President Harris rallied together.
There's a lot of love in this room for our president.
I'm Clayton Neville.
5 people are being charged with supplying actor Matthew Perry the drug ketamine, which led to his death. I'm Jackie Quinn.
The White House is touting deals with drug companies it says will save billions of dollars for taxpayers and seniors. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Goldilocks pays a visit to Wall Street and improves the market's mood with a series of economic numbers that were just right. I'm Peter Schacknow.
A wrongful death lawsuit against Disney is serving as a warning to consumers when clicking I agree. I'm Ed Donahue.
All ahead on America in the Morning. The Trump campaign highlights the economy with high prices and inflation in the spotlight. John Stolnis has more from Washington.
Standing in front of his New Jersey home and flanked by popular grocery items behind him as a visual aid, former President Trump blamed the Biden administration and Vice President Kamala Harris for high prices and says Harris's plan to bring those prices down will only hurt the economy.
Now Kamala is reportedly proposing communist price controls. She wants price controls. And if they worked, I'd go along with it too, but they don't work. They actually have the exact opposite impact and effect. But it leads to food shortages, rationing, hunger.
Reporters asked if his campaign needs to be more disciplined and focus less on personal attacks.
I'm very angry at her because of what she's done to the country. I'm very angry at her that she'd weaponized the justice system against me and other people. Very angry at her. I think I'm entitled to personal attacks.
Inflation ticked down this week to 2.9% compared to last year, the first time it's been under 3% since 2021. Trump admitted the race for the White House has changed, but believes people don't know much about Kamala Harris yet.
I think that we're hitting a nerve. I think this is a different kind of a race. All we have to do is define our opponent as being a communist or a socialist or somebody that's going to destroy our country.
Next week, Harris officially accepts her party's nomination at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Trump told reporters he thinks the convention will be a disaster and a mess, although he will watch.
Kamala Harris is a radical California liberal who broke the economy, broke the border, and broke the world, frankly. Very destructive to the entire world because as we go, oftentimes the world goes. She destroys everything she touches. And if she wins, your finances and your country will never recover. You're never going to recover.
Harris will give a speech later today in North Carolina outlining some of her economic proposals, among them a 4-year plan to lower housing costs, including $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time homebuyers and incentives for building new homes. John Stolnis, Washington.
President Biden joins Vice President Kamala Harris for their first joint speaking engagement since Harris replaced Biden on the ticket for the White House in November. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
The rally was held at Prince George's County Community College in Maryland. It was meant to tout the Biden administration's effort to lower prices for some of Medicare's highest-priced drugs. President Biden and Vice President Harris took the stage together.
The team who leads the fight to put patients above profits. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris.
Harris spoke first with President Biden standing next to her.
There's a lot of love in this room for our president.
The president got some loud cheers from the crowd as they thanked him for his time in office with chants of "Thank you, Joe." Harris echoed the crowd.
Few leaders in our nation have done more on so many issues, including to expand access to affordable health care than Joe Biden.
President Biden made his support for Harris quite clear, as he has since he announced that he was bowing out of the race.
I have an incredible partner. The progress we made, she's going to make one hell of a president.
Biden went after MAGA Republicans and referred to the Project 2025 plan.
They want to repeal Medicare's power to negotiate drug prices. Let Big Pharma back to charge them whatever they want. Let me tell you what our Project 2025 is. Beat the hell out of them.
Former President Donald Trump, the Republican nominee for president, has distanced himself from Project 2025, but it hasn't stopped Democrats from associating him with it. On the campaign trail, Vice President Harris will be solo today. She heads to North Carolina for a policy-focused rally. Her campaign says she'll talk about her plan to lower costs for middle-class families and take on corporate price gouging. I'm Clayton Neville.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's Sleep Number's biggest sale of the year. Save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. Presidential election in full swing. White House announces a plan to lower drug prices. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. The island of Bermuda braces for Hurricane Ernesto. AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton has the latest.
As Hurricane Ernesto heads just to the west of Bermuda on Saturday and perhaps grazes Atlantic Canada on Monday, this storm will block a potent disturbance from pushing eastward out of the Great Lakes until late in the weekend. A rich flow of moisture funneling northward ahead of the storm will mean that as the storm shifts only very slowly to the east, severe thunderstorms can develop. For today, a large zone from southern Kansas to northern Mississippi and near the Detroit metro area may face storms that can bring hail, flooding downpours, and strong winds, with Saturday's severe risk for wind and flooding rain only inching into interior sections of the southeast and inland sections of the mid-Atlantic. Areas closer to the East Coast will need to wait for Sunday for the chance of severe weather, but until then, impacts from Ernesto will include rough surf, dangerous seas, and an elevated risk for rip currents, even as most of the region will have a dry Friday with some sunshine and manageable levels of humidity. Showers can be expected across much of the upper Midwest today, with a dry Friday likely for the Dakotas. However, a wetter end to the work week is in store for some in the Pacific Northwest, with the latest storm in the area able to spark showers and some thunderstorms from Montana through parts of Idaho and Washington. Monsoon thunderstorms can build in a small zone, including portions of Arizona and New Mexico, but the West Coast should be dry in most spots today. Dry conditions also persist for most of the southern United States today and through the weekend, with highs generally running in the upper 90s to the triple digits from the southern plains, Louisiana, and Mississippi. In Dallas, expect a mostly sunny and hot day today with a high of 104 degrees. For Pittsburgh, clouds win out with an afternoon thunderstorm and a high of 79. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
I'm John Trout. Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Authorities arrest 5 people, including 2 doctors and Matthew Perry's personal assistant, on charges connected to the actor's overdose death last year. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
In addition to 5 suspects being charged with Matthew Perry's overdose death, we're learning more about his addiction to ketamine. DEA Administrator Ann Milgram says Perry had been receiving the drug legally through a clinic, but his addiction grew more severe.
He turned to unscrupulous doctors who saw Perry as a way to make quick money.
Up to $2,000 a vial. Central California's U.S. Attorney Martina Strada alleges one doctor, Salvador Plasencia, arranged for Matthew Perry to get dozens of vials implicating himself in a text.
Quote, I wonder how much this moron will pay.
Prosecutors allege the doctor got Perry's personal assistant, who's also been arrested, to inject the drug into the actor. They say that's what killed Perry in October of 2023. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Landmark deal from the White House. An expectation to lower prices of 10 drugs popular with older Americans that could save taxpayers billions of dollars. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
The deals will knock down list prices for 10 of Medicare's most expensive drugs, including blood thinner Xarelto and diabetes drug Januvia.
I've been waiting for this moment for a long, long time.
President Biden says it caps his decades-long bid to make prescription drugs more affordable.
As a result of our negotiations, the government will also pay less than
for prescription drugs.
In their first joint policy appearance since he left the race, Vice President Harris joined the president in Maryland to tout the savings. The administration figures there'll be roughly $6 billion for taxpayers and $1.5 billion for some people on Medicare once the price drops take effect in January 2026. Drug makers, though, warn prices could go up for consumers in other areas. The White House is already bracing for a jump in Medicare drug plan premiums next year. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Lackluster growth expected in July housing starts. That's in the focus next in Friday Business. America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. In for Jessica Ettinger, here's CNBC's Peter Schacknow with the Friday Report.
The cure for Wall Street's recent bad mood involved threading a nearly impossible needle. But somehow that's what's happened, at least for now. The markets had already been rallying in recent days following an early August slump. But Thursday morning delivered a nearly perfect set of economic numbers. July retail sales were up a much better than expected 1%, and first-time claims for jobless benefits fell to levels that were lower than predicted. It was a so-called Goldilocks scenario, showing unexpected strength for the U.S. economy, but not so much that it took the idea of a Federal Reserve interest rate cut off the table. The result, the benchmark S&P 500 wiped out its August deficit, with the Nasdaq only a few points short of doing so. Former Fed Vice Chairman Roger Ferguson thinks the Fed will cut rates by a quarter point in September, although he says the recent economic numbers pretty much erase any chance of a larger cut.
We just saw the retail sales data, which certainly, belies the thought that consumers are collapsing. And so the Fed needs to think about both sides of its mandate. And I think right now they want to move cautiously to make sure that inflation indeed is coming down, and still give them room to move much more quickly if it looks as though they're falling behind the curve. But I think the data right now don't support a rapid move. It supports a more cautious move.
Also helping the Goldilocks scenario was an upbeat earnings report from Walmart, which also raised its full-year earnings forecast. Mona Mahajan is senior investment strategist at Edward Jones.
It does seem to align with the broader narrative of a soft landing and a consumer that may be cooling, but certainly not collapsing. In particular, I think the call out that this quarter has not really shifted in any notable trends, meaning the consumer has not seen a notable leg lower at the start of this quarter. That is a positive sign as well. So thus far, it does seem to confirm a soft landing narrative, which is great.
Investors won't have nearly as much numerical input to work with for the Friday session. There are no corporate earnings of note, and the only economic report out is July housing starts, giving us some more information on one economic sector that's not doing quite as well.
Let's follow up on that. Why isn't housing seeing some of the growth that other sectors are witnessing?
Well, part of that is somewhat of a lag effect, with potential home buyers still suffering from the sticker shock of the highest mortgage rates in years. That's according to CNBC real estate correspondent Diana Olick.
Now, mortgage rates dropped pretty sharply in August from over 7% to the 6.5% range, but the builders said a lack of affordability and buyer hesitation stemming from elevated interest rates and high home prices are all holding sales back.
That July housing starts number out this morning is expected to show a July decline of 1%.
Decline. All right. CNBC's Peter Schacknow. The Disney company's new legal battle. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. It's great money if you can get it, and probably comes with all the coffee you can drink. Correspondent Norman Hall reports Starbucks is giving its new CEO a huge pay package.
Starbucks' incoming CEO could make well in excess of $100 million in his first year with the company under an incentive-laden contract. and he will not be required to relocate from his home in California to Seattle, the home of the global coffee giant. Starbucks announced Tuesday that Brian Niccol would become its chairman and CEO on September 9th. Niccol is among the most highly sought-after corporate executives after establishing a track record of success in turning around companies that have hit a rough patch, including Taco Bell and most recently Chipotle. I'm Norman Hall.
New troubles at the House of Mouse as a legal fight between a family and Disney has exposed an unusual contract clause. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
A New York woman died after an allergic reaction at a Disney restaurant in Florida. The family is suing, but Disney is pushing back, saying the woman's husband signed up for Disney Plus, and he signed an agreement to settle any lawsuits against Disney through arbitration, not in court. John Davison is director of litigation at the Electronic Privacy Information Center. He says people who sign up for an app or streaming service don't fully comprehend what they're doing.
Consumer is presented with this contract and really doesn't have an opportunity to negotiate the terms. It's yes or no.
The family claims the Disney website said the restaurant they went to had allergen-free food. Disney says the husband agreed when signing up for a 1-month trial of Disney Plus in 2019 to the arbitration terms and acknowledged he had reviewed the fine print. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Friday, August 16th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Our senior producer is Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The U.S. says a new round of peace talks aimed at ending the Gaza war has begun. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Ukraine's military pushing deeper into Russia. I'm Clayton Neville.
Donald Trump's defense team is asking a New York judge to delay his criminal sentencing. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Arizona's High Court says it's okay to refer to a fetus as an unborn human being. I'm Pamela Burr.
Also from around the nation, Florida power station threatened. From Alaska, troopers in trouble. We'll have those stories.
Hollywood Squares host and Broadway star Peter Marshall has died at the age of 98. I'm Shirley Adler.
Back after these messages. Ernesto strengthens. Welcome back to America in the Morning and the National Weather Picture from AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Hurricane Ernesto continues to head in the general direction of Bermuda early this morning, as this storm likely passes just to the west of Bermuda on Saturday before potentially brushing Newfoundland during the day on Monday. Impacts for the United States will include strong rip currents and rather rough surf from the mid-Atlantic northward through coastal Maine. However, Ernesto also will hold up the eastward progress of a disturbance over the Great Lakes, resulting in downpours and even the risk for severe weather in the form of hail and strong wind gusts today from Illinois to western Pennsylvania, southwestward to central Arkansas, and extending into southern Kansas. The slow track of the storm will bring the risk for severe weather into interior sections of the mid-Atlantic and the southeast on Saturday before finally reaching the east coast on Sunday. Otherwise, the eastern seaboard looks to be rather dry today, with the best chance for any thunderstorms confined to South Florida. The heat rolls on across the south, mainly from Mississippi to New Mexico and as far to the north as southern Kansas, where widespread highs in the upper 90s and even the hundreds can threaten some daily record highs through at least Monday with sunshine much of the time. More active conditions can be expected once again for parts of the interior Pacific Northwest, with a storm tracking through the region that can bring some thunderstorms to places from northeastern Washington state and northern Idaho across much of Montana. A separate zone of spotty monsoon thunderstorm activity can occur from southeastern Arizona into much of southwestern New Mexico, with a generally rain-free Friday expected instead near and along the west coast. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
I'm John Trout. Don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The high-stakes ceasefire and hostage talks will resume in Qatar today, with the U.S. mediating to end the war in Gaza between Hamas and Israel. As correspondent Sagar Meghani reports, while Israel did have a place at the table, the terrorist group did not attend.
We fully expect these talks to move forward as they should, and our point of view is that all negotiators should return to the table and bring this deal to conclusion. It is far time for the remaining hostages to be released, which of course include American citizens, and bring relief to the people of Gaza under the deal that is now on the table.
The U.S. says a new round of peace talks aimed at ending the Gaza war has begun.
The resumption of these talks is an important step. And in the lead up to this meeting, we'd already narrowed some gaps. Today, we are focused on the details of the implementation of the agreement.
White House National Security spokesman John Kirby says the U.S., Egypt, and Qatar are meeting with an Israeli delegation in Doha.
We do not anticipate coming out of these talks today with a deal. In fact, I'd expect the talks to continue.
Kirby says the focus now is on implementing a deal President Biden laid out in May for a ceasefire and the release of Hamas hostages.
Talks are moving forward today in Doha. President Biden directed Director Burns and Brett McGurk to participate for the United States. They're on the ground right now working with representatives from Israel, Qatar, and Egypt. Qatar and Egypt are in turn mediating with Hamas.
Both sides have agreed in principle, but accuse each other of making new demands. Gaza health authorities say the 10-month war has now killed more than 40,000 people.
We're also aware that this number is an approximation, and given the large number and disturbing number of people who remain unaccounted for, who may be trapped or dead under the rubble, this number may, if anything, be an undercount.
And men like this in the central Gaza Strip are pleading for the two sides to accept a deal and end this. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Ukrainian troops continue to seize more ground inside of Russia and is moving outside of the Kursk region. Russia has issued evacuation orders for its citizens, but has yet to respond with any force. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest.
We believe the best way that they can be effective on the battlefield is by knitting those capabilities together and continuing to push forces back to regain their sovereign territory. That doesn't necessarily happen by doing long-range deep strikes within Russia. And of course, we're worried about escalation. So just because Russia hasn't responded to something doesn't mean that they can't or won't in the future. And that's something that the administration is always weighing.
Ukraine's military pushes into the Kursk region of Russia and now beyond. Fierce battles reported in Belgorod, near Ukrainian control in Kursk, and 100 Russian soldiers captured by Ukraine. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin got an update this week by phone with the Ukrainian Minister of Defense
regarding priority security assistance efforts and Ukraine's ongoing operations. Secretary Austin and Minister Umerov also discussed the strong support from allies and partners in helping meet Ukraine's urgent military requirements.
Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh told reporters that Ukraine still has America's support.
The president has been clear that we're going to stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes.
The U.S. has given weapons to Ukraine since Russia invaded that country, essentially allowing for the progress that it's seeing today in Russian territory.
We're always assessing what they need on the battlefield to be successful. And we believe the capabilities that we continue to provide them you're seeing those successes come to fruition.
Singh said the U.S. will keep modifying what it sends to Ukraine to meet what it needs.
They have sophisticated long-range capabilities, along with, we're training their pilots on F-16s.
The fighting fierce in parts of Russia, but Ukraine vowing to move forward with the help of its allies. I'm Clayton Neville.
Presumptive Democrat presidential nominee Kamala Harris' pick for VP, Governor Tim Walz, has had questions swirling about his record in the National Guard and also about an arrest for drunk driving in Nebraska in 1995. And now correspondent Norman Hall reports concerns are being raised about campaign staffers releasing misleading information about the case when Walz ran for office back in 2006.
Tim Walz was a 31-year-old teacher when he pleaded guilty in March 1996 to a reduced charge of reckless driving, lost his license for 90 days, and was fined $200. According to court records, Nebraska State Trooper clocked Walz going 96 miles per hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone. Walls' attorney told the court Walls thought someone was chasing him because the trooper came up fast and didn't turn on his red lights right away. The lawyer said Walls' blood alcohol level was relatively low. The arrest has received news coverage previously. Walls' campaign staffers in 2006 gave misleading information to the few news outlets that wrote about it at the time. Walls has since said he quit drinking alcohol after his arrest. I'm Norman Hall.
When we return on America in the Morning, update on Trump's hush money case and the unborn human being controversy after these messages. I'm John Trout. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Attorneys for former President Trump are seeking to push back the sentencing date for his hush money case in New York City. As correspondent Jackie Quinn reports, a sentencing date has already been delayed once, but so far the judge has refused to delay the case again.
Todd Blanche, an attorney for former President Donald Trump, has written to the presiding judge suggesting it would be election interference if the sentencing date takes place as scheduled on September 18th. Judge Juan Merchan is expected to rule 2 days before that on whether the U.S. Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity will affect part of the hush money conviction. And the lawyer repeats the claim the judge has a conflict of interest because his daughter works as a Democratic political consultant. Trump was convicted in May of falsifying business records to hide a deal before the 2016 election to suppress claims from porn actress Stormy Daniels that they had had a sexual encounter. I'm Jackie Quinn.
The Arizona Supreme Court sides with Republican lawmakers saying it's okay to call a fetus or embryo an unborn human being. Pamela Furr explains.
The court got involved in the debate as to whether an informational pamphlet for Arizona voters can use the more conservative language. The abortion issue will be on the ballot in that state in November. Now, the ruling comes as abortion foes have long worked to give embryos and fetuses the same legal and constitutional protections on par with those of the women carrying them. You'll recall the issue was highlighted recently when the Alabama Supreme Court ruled frozen embryos are legally protected children, forcing lawmakers to scramble to enact protections for in vitro fertilization. In Arizona, the language describing an embryo or fetus as an unborn human being will go in a pamphlet from Republicans that gives voters information on candidates and ballot measures to help inform their choices. The Secretary of State's office, which determines what gets printed on the ballot itself, said unborn human being will not appear on the ballot. I'm Pamela Furr.
2 Alaska state troopers are facing assault charges accused of beating, using pepper spray, and allowing their police dog to attack and subdue a man they were trying to arrest. Authorities said the 2 troopers approached the 38-year-old man who did not respond to the officers. One trooper, trying to arrest the suspect, placed his boot on the man's head. Another used a taser weapon multiple times to subdue him and then ordered their canine dog to attack the man, leaving their suspect with bite marks and broken bones. What made the situation worse? The officers later discovered he wasn't the suspect they were looking for. The head of the Alaska Department of Public Safety calls the troopers' actions sickening. Then there's the crime of donating to a charity in Ukraine. Correspondent Karen Shamas reports a dual U.S.-Russian national has been sentenced to 12 years in a Kremlin prison.
US-Russian dual national Ksenia Kavana has been convicted and sentenced to 12 years in a Russian prison for allegedly raising money for the Ukrainian military. Kavana, whom Russian authorities identify by her maiden name of Karolina, was arrested in Yekaterinburg in February. News reports said she pleaded guilty in her closed trial last week. Kavana reportedly obtained US citizenship after marrying an American and moving to Los Angeles. She had returned to Russia to visit her family. I'm Karen Shamas.
Police in Florida reported Jordanian national was arrested for explosive threats and an attack on a Florida energy facility allegedly motivated by the U.S. government's support of the State of Israel. Hashim Hanayan faces charges of threatening to use explosives and 1 count of destruction of an energy facility. Prosecutors allege Hanayan broke into a solar power generation station in Wedgefield, Florida, and then went about systematically destroying solar panel arrays in late June, causing more than $700,000 in damage. America in the Morning's Chuck Palm is in with today's tech report and tales of fast food company Shake Shack partnering with Uber Eats and a robot delivery company to bring you your lunch the modern way.
Burger chain Shake Shack and Serve Robotics are partnering to use autonomous sidewalk robots to deliver orders placed on the Uber Eats app, the companies announced this week. Serve Robotics announced that this rollout will only be in certain LA restaurants at the moment, but it will help them achieve their target of deploying up to 2,000 AI-powered sidewalk delivery robots on the Uber platform by next year. Other restaurants, retailers, and consumer-facing companies have been ramping up and testing different rollouts of technologies including robots, drones, and self-driving cars in a bid to cut down on delivery costs. In a related story, Britain's aviation regulator has also selected 6 projects, including one by online shopping giant Amazon, to test the use of drones in deliveries. Currently, drones in Great Britain are only permitted to fly in the visual line of sight, so the new advanced technologies for navigation and control by Amazon will be called Prime Air. Comment at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
Robert Workman returns Monday with sports. Here's Bob Brown.
The NFL season about to kick off. 2 ESPN anchors have reportedly been kicked out. Robert Griffin III and NFL Countdown host Sam Ponder were let go in a cost-cutting move. Griffin had 2 years left on his contract, Ponder going into her last year of her 3-year deal. ESPN recently signing former Eagles player Jason Kelce as host for Monday Night Countdown. ESPN axing a number of on-air positions last year, including Jeff Van Gundy and Susie Colbert. The controversy around the decision to strip Team USA gymnast Jordan Childs of her bronze medal continues. On Thursday, the U.S. says the Olympic arbitration body sends so-called crucial communications to incorrect email addresses. Childs was first awarded 5th place, which was put back in 3rd after a review, but shockingly was moved back to 5th place, losing the bronze. Cowboys picking up defensive tackle Jordan Phillips from the Giants. Dallas also getting a 7th-round pick in 2026, while the Giants will get a 6th-round choice. The team also signing former Bengals and Jets edge rusher Carl Lawson. They're still talking about Aaron Judge's 300th career homer in a 10-2 win over the White Sox in Chicago Wednesday night.
Man ever in Major League Baseball to reach the 300 home run plateau.
That call courtesy of Amazon Prime Video. Finally, Fan Week of the U.S. Open in Flushing Meadow begins Monday with many events free. Tournament play at the U.S. Open begins Monday, August 26th. I'm Bob Brown.
Thank you, Bob. When we return, landing near you, Alien Romulus. After these messages. This is America in the Morning. A well-known game show host has died. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports on the passing of Peter Marshall.
Peter Marshall was an actor and singer who became host of the Hollywood Squares for 16 years. His publicist says Marshall died at home in Los Angeles of kidney failure. The program won 4 daytime Emmys for Outstanding Game Show during his run.
I was on Broadway with Julie Harris when they asked me to do this game show. I didn't even know what a game show was. And I thought it was going to be a 13-week job, evolved into an almost 17-year career, actually.
Marshall was the host of more than 5,000 episodes of the series that ran on NBC from 1966 to 1981.
Probably as a game show host, except people in the theater. And it doesn't really matter how strangers think of me. It matters a lot how my friends think of me and my family.
I'm Shelley Adler.
Arrests have been made in Los Angeles following the death of soap opera star Johnny Wachter. Correspondent Haya Panjwani has details.
Los Angeles police have arrested 4 suspects in the death of former General Hospital actor Johnny Wachter, who was shot and killed when he interrupted thieves. Police say that early on May 25th, Wachter was leaving his shift as a bartender when 3 men approached who had hoisted his car in downtown LA. Police say one of them shot him, and he was declared dead later at the hospital. Wachter played Brando Corbin on the long-running ABC soap opera from 2020 to 2022. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Theaters have been busy of late on the weekends. These next couple days don't appear to be an exception. Kevin Carr has a sneak peek at Alien Romulus.
With Hollywood resurrecting so many franchises, it was just a matter of time before they made another Alien film.
This place gives me the creeps.
Alien Romulus goes back to the roots of the original 1979 movie about a monster on a spaceship. The would-be victims are interplanetary miners trying to escape to a better life. They just picked the wrong ship to hitch a ride.
There she is.
You want to break in and steal highly regulated equipment.
This could be our only ticket out of here.
With the exception of the first 2 films, the Alien movies have always been a real mixed bag, and that's kind of true here. Historically, even when they tried something new, it didn't go well. At least this movie takes some big swings, which enriches the overall story and offers loads of Easter eggs.
Something's hunting us.
Open the door, come on!
Run.
I did struggle to get past the first half knowing what's coming. I mean, after 45 years, doesn't everybody know what the xenomorph aliens are all about?
Stop playing around, man. Just get out. I'm not playing around. There's something in the water. What do you mean there's something in the water? No, there's just something in the water.
Fortunately, the film mostly stays fresh, though it can be hampered by some weak characterization and murky cinematography. But by the time the credits rolled, I thought it was a worthy installment in the franchise.
Whatever comes, we'll face it together.
Let's go.
Alien Romulus gets 3 facehuggers out of 5. I'm Kevin Carr, and that's the way I see it.
That's our show for today, Friday, August 16th, 2024. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.